Hey guys, welcome into the 14. I'm Nick Cole, and we're breaking down each SEC football bowl game from a betting perspective. Today, we're talking about the AutoZone Liberty Bowl. That's between the Mississippi State Bulldogs and the Texas Tech Red Raiders. This game's going to be played Tuesday, December 28th at 6:45 p.m. Eastern Time at Liberty Bowl Memorial Stadium in Memphis, Tennessee. This game's going to be broadcast on ESPN. From a betting perspective, Mississippi State opened as a 9-point favorite in this game. And as of the recording of this video, they're favored by 9.5. The over-under for this game opened at 60, and as of recording of this video has dropped to 58.5. I'll bring in our betting analyst, Christopher Smith. Christopher, I don't know about you, but this is one of the bowl games on a list of 40 some odd games that excited me the most when I saw things come out. You get to see Mike Leach and Texas Tech, and sure, it's 2021 instead of 2011, but still a cool storyline for us to follow here.
I agree, but I also think that a lot of people lump in this bowl with kind of the quote unquote bad bowls, simply because it's not December 31st or January 1st. But I don't think you can put Memphis as a city at night in the same sort of category as even Birmingham at 11 a.m. the same day, or Shreveport, or I guess Charlotte may be a pretty fun city, but to me, if I'm a fan, the number one thing outside of the game that I'm looking for is food. And you can do worse than going to Memphis if you want to get some good eats in before the game. But why don't you tell us also how the fans will enjoy the weather out there if they're going to the game, and Nick's news and notes.
Sure. So we'll start with the weather for this one. Obviously, we're a few days out recording this video, so it may change a little bit. Check it before you book your bets on this. But as of right now, the forecast is showing temperatures in the 60s for that evening, with a 30% chance of rain and 7 to 10 miles per hour as the projected wind. So some things to consider, but all in all, for a December night in Memphis, that's not too bad. On the injury side of things, or opt-out or transfer portal side of things, as bowl season chugs along here, let's start with Texas Tech. We got quarterback Tyler Show seems to be likely out for this game with a collarbone injury that he sustained in the first month of the regular season. And then there are 3 of the team's top 6 pass catchers that are listed as questionable for this game, along with linebacker Brandon Byard-Randall. Before I go to Mississippi State, I would just throw this in there, as I mentioned, those 3 pass catchers, and this is really holds true for any bowl game, any video that you watch from us. Is we're a few days out recording these before the game actually happens, and things move quickly in bowl season with players opting out, deciding that injuries are just going to keep them from playing, maybe transferring, getting ready for the NFL draft. We've seen it earlier in the bowl season, some players that we think are key to winning maybe these games that just end up not playing. Missouri's Tyler Beatty's a great example, a guy that we thought was going to play, and then within the last 48 hours before kickoff, they decided he wasn't going to play. So it's super important as you're placing your bets here that we check on the day of the game to make sure that all the key pieces that you think are going to play actually do play. So now we talk about Mississippi State. Left tackle Charles Cross will sit out this one and prepare for the NFL draft. We've got wide receiver Malik Heath, seems likely out after a car accident a few weeks ago. And then we've got wide receiver Christian Ford and kicker Brandon Rees, who also may be out for this one. News and notes wise, I mentioned it in the open, Christopher, but this game is close to can be must-see TV, I think, for a game that is not a New Year's Six or a college football playoff game. And here's why. The Liberty Bowl, and God bless them for getting this matchup for us 12 years later, but most people that are college football fans will remember that Mike Leach had a very long, successful tenure at Texas Tech that ended pretty abruptly with a very public and ugly divorce that involved some somewhat flimsy accusations of Leach locking a player in a shed, potential issues with handling concussions, and Leach was fired. And in the fallout of that, Leach, who was a lawyer himself at one point prior to becoming a football coach, sued the school for millions of dollars that he believes he was owed in the midst of that termination. Really bad blood there. A lot of the people that were involved in that decision-making maybe aren't there anymore at Texas Tech, which takes some of the edge off of this. But still, a decade later, Leach is enjoying success. His second stop post Texas Tech, obviously had a good run at Washington State. Now he's bowl eligible again with the Bulldogs in year 2 at Mississippi State. And Texas Tech, on the other hand, finds himself in yet another coaching transition after firing Matt Wells during the conclusion of the regular season there in Lubbock. Which brings me to what we need to look at from Texas Tech in this game. It's hard to understand what we're going to see out of this 6-6 team. Interim coach Sonny Cumbie has actually been hired to be the new head coach at Louisiana Tech, but he came back in mid-December to help coach the Red Raiders in their bowl game through these bowl practices and into that game before they transition over to their new head coach, who's Joey McGuire, his former Baylor assistant they hired to replace Matt Wells. So it's weird. You've got Cumbie, who's a former Red Raiders quarterback, if you think back to actually in the Leach era, is come back and is just doing this out of love for his alma mater is all I can see here. Is the guy's been hired as a head coach somewhere else, has no reason to be hanging around and to do this other than see things through with this Red Raiders group. He's 1-3 as the interim coach. This is going to be his 5th game coaching after Matt Wells was fired. And so you look at where the frame of mind might be for this Texas Tech program right now. Obviously, they're looking forward to a new era with a new coach who, by the way, is their 7th guy to coach a football game for Texas Tech since they let Leach go in 2009. But from a psyche, for a player standpoint, going into this Liberty Bowl, you wonder what you're going to see out of them. Are they going to be trying to impress a new coach? Are they going to be phoning it in with an interim coach who's not even supposed to be there anymore? Christopher, when we try to bet bowl games, I know we struggle with finding the motivation for some teams, especially in these earlier games. Clearly, Mike Leach is going to have some motivation of his own from within, and if he can push that upon his players to play for him, obviously that's there. Texas Tech, maybe not as clear. How do we make a bet on this one?
Yeah, you were talking about Mike Leach, and he's 6-10 against the spread in bowl games on his career. And he started out with a winning record at Texas Tech. And also, I think they covered the spread at Mississippi State against maybe Tulsa last year, if I'm remembering who they played correctly in the bowl game. But, you know, basically before last year, Mike Leach had a long stretch where he lost most of his bowl games and didn't cover the spread. And I mean, there's a couple of theories about that. There's one is the fact that the air raid is a very timing oriented offense that sometimes could struggle after long layoffs. I think every team approaches bowl games differently. You hear Nick Saban's teams, of course, they're usually in the playoff, talking about, oh, this is a business trip. And then you have other coaches who maybe don't put as harsh of rules around their players, and the players can, you know, be college kids and go out and enjoy a new city a little bit more. I would think in a normal circumstance, Leach probably fits more in the latter category, where he appreciates history and doesn't mind his players maybe going out on the town and kind of seeing some stuff, not just focusing on football the whole time. But you mentioned the maybe the longstanding grudge that he has against Texas Tech. I wonder if Leach may be a little bit more business-like with his approach in this game than maybe he would be under normal bowl circumstances. But also, if the air raid gets affected by layoffs, then Texas Tech has the same problem because they run basically the same offense. And they've juggled 3 quarterbacks, you mentioned, and now they have an interim head coach that is a head coach at Louisiana Tech and has been recruiting for a lot of December. And there's an outgoing staff, there's an incoming staff. So there's a lot going on with Texas Tech. If anyone's going to be hurt by the layoff here, it might be the Red Raiders. But Mississippi State is 5-1 against the spread in their last 6, and their pass offense is very impressive. They're 32nd in EPA per pass on offense, and that's a stat that's not adjusted by opponent. And of course, we all know the type of schedule they've played in the SEC West this year. Texas Tech is just 122nd in EPA per pass on defense. So not good going against this very efficient pass offense by Mississippi State. Of course, Will Rogers, first in the nation, completion percentage, second in passing yards, and Makai Polk third with 98 catches. You mentioned Mississippi State playing without their star left tackle, who will probably be a first-round NFL draft choice, but the air raid gets the ball out quickly. And Texas Tech is just 122nd in sack rate. Also only 76th in stuff rate. So I think that Mississippi State's offensive line will probably be fine without him at left tackle for this game. On the other side, we've talked all season in these videos, or I have, that Mississippi State's run defense is much better than their pass defense. And you think of the air raid as only passing the ball, but Texas Tech's brand actually runs the ball more than 52% of the time this year, which I think plays into the hands of Mississippi State. I think the Red Raiders, they have the best chances to throw the ball more often than they did during the regular season and try to expose the pass defense that is susceptible for Mississippi State. But again, you're on your third quarterback, and who knows how much game planning and where the play calling is for this game. So I do think that this is a pretty good matchup in terms of personnel and sort of how things fit together for Mississippi State in this game. But Nick, before you tell us who you're betting on in this game and why don't we give our audience a little bit of a Christmas present here?
Yeah, sure. So bowl season's in full swing, and our partners over at Action 24/7 Sportsbook are celebrating with special deals for new customers. For a limited time only, you can get your deposit matched 100% up to $800. So if you sign up today and make your first deposit using the code SOUTH14, SOUTH14, Action will double your money up to $800. So download the app or visit action247.com to get started. Action 24/7 is by Tennesseans for Tennesseans. You've got Action. Christopher, this is one of the games, I know we talk about tempering our betting appetite in the bowl season just because these games are so hard to predict. And the players that we think are going to play may or may not play, may be motivated, may not be motivated. So I would say this with the caveat that I'm going to do it at a lower rate than I would in a regular season game, but I actually am looking forward to betting this game. I think I will put a bet on this one. I'm going to bet on Mike Leach. I'm going to bet on the Bulldogs. I'm going to lay the 9.5 points. So give me Mississippi State. And for fun and bowl season, a lot of these, we talk about having fun when you make a bet on this type of game. I'm going to take the over at 58.5 because I do think that a couple of air raid offenses, even if they don't score at will get us over that total. How do you view it?
Yeah, I actually think Mississippi State could put up a huge number on offense in this game. I mean, Texas Tech's defense can't stop the pass at all. And Will Rogers has been so good all season, at least at completing passes with accuracy. And I just think that Mike Leach, like you mentioned, will be actually interested in winning this game. And I don't know that he'll be pulling a Nick Saban in the second half if they are winning and really dialing back the aggression. I mean, he throws the ball all the time anyway, so they're not going to stop throwing the ball just because they're ahead. So what that tells me also that Texas Tech has a much better shot at throwing the ball than they do running the ball. Another factor that leads me to agreeing with you on the over. And I just think that if Mississippi State scores 42 plus points, it's going to be very hard for Texas Tech to stay within less than 10 or single digit margin. And it's going to be very hard for there to be an under. So I think Mississippi State's offense is the key to handicapping this game. We both like the Bulldogs and the over. Just like Nick said, don't go overboard on the amount you bet on this game is our advice. But if you want to throw some shekels out there for entertainment value, we probably like Mississippi State and the over for both of those. So for Nicole, I'm Christopher Smith for the 14. We hope you have a great holiday season, and we'll talk to you for the next SEC Bowl game.